Ms. Miranda.
Skype is currently being used in the high school by several high school teachers. In the middle school as well. We have purchased an entire equipment for it. They're currently using it. This past year, purchased one for the minor school, one for the Hammond, as well as the Degas school. Those teachers, we're meeting actually next week with the Roosevelt's, because we've been partnering with the Roosevelt Junior High School in New Bedford. And we're bringing teachers in, so they'll be doing it. We're also looking at expanding as well in terms of global education. That could be its own presentation. So, but they are using it there.
I learned it so I could communicate with my daughter at college. She's just a click away now. But
it seems like interesting technology with it, and it could help a lot of the students. I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
Wanda?
Sure. Thank you very much for your presentation tonight. Around literacy and mathematics, the reading coaches, how, if approved, how do you see enhancing these programs with implementing RTI? I know that you are doing response to intervention on a smaller scale now, but how are you looking to enhance those programs if it's approved in 2012 for RTI?
We'll have more staff that can work with and in the classrooms, because you'll have your classroom teachers, you'll have your coaches, and special education will all be the group of core people that can assist and help with the students. RTI is one part of it. We're looking at the supervision evaluation part of not just with the coaches, but instructional leaders. They're the people that can be in the classroom, watching the staff, doing model lessons, which is going to help the instruction as well. So we've, as you said, we've done RTI on a small scale where the teachers have Tier 1, they're doing Tier 2, which is small group instruction, but it's kind of isolated. The coaches are coming in, they're doing the instruction, the students are being pulled out for Tier 3. I just see it more as a cohesive unit of everybody working together all at once, rather than having these isolated pieces.
Can you tell me, based on implementing RTI on a smaller scale, what kind of results that you've seen?
We've seen improvement. The first year we tried to do this, not calling it RTI, but with our intervention blocks, we've only focused on literacy, and we saw improvement with that, but then we saw a math lag. So then we added math. We tried to do two things in one block, and that didn't work. So then we went to two separate blocks, and we're finding that having two identified blocks, one for reading, one for math, is really giving more support to the students, and we can really focus on those particular skills. So having the RTI come in, where we have the overview that will be given to the teachers, they'll fully understand what it is and what it means, because we're not fully implementing RTI as it's meant to be. So we're going to provide the training for the staff for that to happen before we go ahead and implement it, because we want them to be comfortable with that. So I just see it as as being effective.
Okay. Sorry, just a couple more minutes. The newsletters, I saw that you have the newsletter that you put up on your website. And I'm sorry I don't know the answer to this question, but on your website, do you have a place where parents can sign up to receive, so you can push data out? Or, because as you know, the committee that I just emailed you about, that's one of the pieces of information that I'm going to ask in a survey to each one of the members is, how is information currently being pushed out? Are we capturing email addresses, cell phone numbers, so that we can do texting, things like that? Does your website today currently have a place for parents to sign up so we can push information out to them through email?
We used to have what was called a district listserv, and I still get an update every month or so where that used to happen. I don't know if that's active anymore. So when parents did sign up, my newsletter would automatically go to them. Or if there was a no school announcement, it would automatically go to them. I'd have to check with the technology department to see if that's still an active link.
Dr. Bench, do you know if the listserv currently still exists?
I do not believe that it is active at this time. I think Terry of the technology coordinator is doing a survey about how many homes have internet capability, and we have many through Power School. Many parents can sign up and do get reports either about students' grades, progress reports online, as well as the food service department sends out reminders about bills and things like that online. But as far as capturing more of it, we're waiting for the results of the survey.
Yeah, because I think that you can, and it's just a quick comment, that, I don't mind from, when I get a text, a phone call, and an email. So even if we're hitting them, even if we're doing all three, even though everyone might not have one form, it's still good to do all of that.
I think Global Connect has a capability for email. I just don't know if we've used,
Okay.
I don't know how often we've utilized that.
Okay. And then the only other thing is, one of the comments that you made was that you can't mandate what teachers do during their prep time. Are there encouragement, suggestions on what is done during that time?
We encourage them to collaborate all the time, and many do. They'll get together when they're doing their planning. Just as the principal, I can't say to them, I want all of you to meet with me during your prep time and let's go over these assessments. Sometimes they're willing to do that, but I can't mandate it. But as I said, they typically are planning together, but by having a substitute go in every 6 weeks or so, then I can pull them together to do what I feel we need to do. And it still allows them to have the planning time.
Okay. And if there are problems with that, there's another way that you go about, I'm sure, fixing that problem. Okay. Thank you very much.
Jeff? Thank you. You're doing these assessments, and you get immediate feedback as to whether the students have gotten it. Let's assume you have a class of 20, 22 kids, and 3 or 4 kids didn't get it. What exactly happens at that point?
That's a perfect time during our intervention block, where the teacher can then take that particular skill the students didn't do well on and remediate that with those group of students, whether it's the classroom teacher, if they're going down to the library, if they're a Tier 3 student, that interventionist could also do that. But that's a perfect reason why we have intervention block, is to review those skills that the students are not getting.
So when would that intervention take place?
Could be that day, it could be the next day. The teachers also can pull groups of students off to the side of the room and go over it that day or the next day. It happens in a couple of ways.
Would it ever occur later than 24 hours?
It could, depending on scheduling, and
It could.
we try not to, but
That doesn't sound optimal.
it doesn't happen that often that it's more than 24 hours, but again, you have to look at, it depends on the skill in getting to that particular teacher, because sometimes we have our teams, like in grade 4 we have team teaching, so we have to kind of coordinate that.
With the resources you expect to have next year, would the likelihood of that intervention occurring within 24 hours or even earlier increase?
I believe so, because you'll have more staff that can work with that.
And would the RTI program almost mandate that?
It would, because, like I said, when you have more people going in, working with the students in the identified skills that we have, we're trying to capture them right on the onset.
This BLAST program.
Blast into books, blast into math.
Right. That takes place outside of the school.
Correct.
Ideally, I assume it takes place with parents,
Yes,
but it doesn't have to.
correct.
Do you have any indication of the percentage of parents that are actually involved with their kids in these two BLAST programs?
I do. I don't have the numbers with me because
Ballpark. Is it 50, 70, 30%?
you're doing here, and do you know how of the classrooms?
How many parents come in and involved here?
No, like how many parents are participating in the program with their students?
Every parent has to sign it. It has to have a parent's signature that those children read the allotted amount of minutes. every log has to have a parent or a guardian signature in order for them to move across.
They've been doing that for quite a while,
That's
right?
not to say.
I remember that when my,
Right.
Sitting down doing,
Right.
reading order, that, I mean, you
Oh,
can't,
right.
like happening in school, but we do require a signature, and I can tell you, because I run the math program, if there's not a signature, I highlight it and send it back. I want the parent to be accountable to tell me that,
Good for you.
doing that.
So at
Good for you,
least,
Jamie.
at least 100% of the parents know that the program exists.
Yes.
And that their children are involved. Whether they're actually reading and doing math with them, nobody really knows. Okay. And then, Mr. Chairman, with your permission, since we got these parents here, I would love to know how you feel the school is doing, whether the improvement plan is working, whether the school is meeting your children's needs, et cetera. Any of you, all of you.
I would say that I think the improvement plan, we always try optimally to come up with the best solutions for the children, but as we all know that, the resources are not always there financially. From what I understand from the RPA, I think that would be an excellent program to get in, because with the pull-out groups, and, it's small numbers. There are the kids that always slip through the cracks. You have the kids that are way up here, you have the kids that are down here, and then you have the middle one. And, we can't always get to those that are not what I would call tier 3, but just not quite to be put into that pull-up. I think the RTI, in question to what you had said earlier, how fast do you think that's happening? I think with the RTI, it will happen quicker, because there'll be that teacher in there, or that paraprofessional who's going, okay, Joe, Bobby, and Sue didn't get it, I'm going to bring them over here. They don't have to leave the classroom now, because they're not in that tier 3, but they've noticed, recognized, and maybe they can work with them on that program a little. Just to me, I know for my son sometimes I don't understand, and I'll say, okay, let's read the directions again. And that's all he needed, was just that one more time to be explained, and then he's fine. So I think that, as far as my children, I feel that the schools always strive to give them what they've needed. And if I've ever had a problem, I've always felt that with Ms. Siemens, that she's always looked at the problem and helped it.
Ann, any comments?
I have a child that is going to so benefit with the RTI. He doesn't quite qualify for an IEP, but he is having a hard time in kindergarten. And I'm worried about retention. And I know that if there was more, because at Hammond they only have one part-time person that comes in and pulls them. And I know that would just 100% help him. I'm so afraid that he's going to slip through the cracks, because he almost gets an IEP, but he's just a little bit ahead, and then I'm afraid in 3rd grade it's going to all hit. So I think that this program will just be wonderful for him to have set aside more time one-on-one. Even if it is, like I said, sometimes even with my 3rd grader, it's just rereading the directions. Like sometimes they go so fast that he doesn't get it at the first time, but if someone can help him, just read the directions.
Thank you. Jerry?
Well, ideally, every child would have an IEP, and that would be wonderful, but it's public education, and we do what we can do. And I think the school tries and does the best it can with what it has.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Great. Rachel?
No, I'm good.
Well, a couple of things that I was going to ask have already been asked, but I'm just curious about a couple of things, only because I'm not sure, okay? On the NAEP, the National Assessment, was that a sample years ago? Did you do all of the 4th graders?
2 years ago, only Minot Forest was selected, and they
Right.
only chose a small group of 4th grade
Right,
students.
because that's the way it was when I was a principal.
Right. I was surprised this year when they said all of my 4th graders were being tested, and Deacon's also went through the NAEP, but they only had a random selection of students selected.
So it varies on the selection and the process as deemed necessary by the national people, correct? So they tell you how it's going to be. The reason I ask that is because if all 4th graders took the NAEP, there is a wonderful opportunity, to use that word again, to do a correlational study. Because if all 4th graders took it, and all 4th graders are going to take the MCAS, it stands to reason that we could really do a good correlational study on the 2 tests.
We don't get any results from NAEP. None at all.
That's right, we don't.
So we have no idea how our particular
absolutely right.
fourth grade
I forgot
student
about
did.
When they talk about the
Yeah.
state of Massachusetts being number one
Right.
in the NAEP,
Yeah,
we can't tell you about our children because they don't give us any data.
that's right, I forgot about that. So a correlational study would be absolutely impossible.
Right.
Yeah.
Just a quick question. Why?
Why what?